The millionaire laughed at the janitor's daughter until she revealed this at midnight. The sound of laughter echoed through the grand ballroom, a cruel symphony drowning the whispers of disbelief. It was a lavish affair, sparkling chandeliers eclipsing the sea of decadence below. A belligerent $1,000,000 smile sat on Marcus Vasquez's face, the heir to a glittering empire. His eyes sparkled with mockery as he looked down at the lone figure of Amelia Baker, the janitor's daughter. The stark contrast of her frayed dress against the opulent evening wear surrounding her was like a slap in the face to the grandeur of the occasion. As she stood there, shoulders hunched, everyone wondered, what was she doing here? Amelia had always been curious about this world of wealth. The spark in her hazel eyes, however, held a deep sense of unyielding determination. It twisted a knot in everyone's stomach as she searched for a place among the polished crowd, her heart racing like it might leap from her chest at any moment. She had come for a chance, a mere flicker of hope, but all she faced was disdain. Marcus, tall and handsome, laughed as if the whole idea of a janitor's daughter dared to enter his domain was ludicrous. "What's next?" he sneered. "Washing my car, sweetheart." A group of onlookers erupted into giggles, but Amelia clenched her fists tight to keep from shaking. A hush fell suddenly, like a tension waiting to snap. With every breath, the air thickened, there was an electricity in the room. She stared defiantly back at Marcus, her heart clenching with fear and anger. Did he know she carried something far beyond the glitter of wealth? As midnight approached, murmurs filled the air. Amelia walked deliberately to the center of the ballroom, each step echoing her resolve. The clock struck 12, and silence settled like a heavy fog. It was then she whispered the secret, a revelation that would turn their laughter into gasps of disbelief. A chilling truth bubbled from her lips, the kind that made the crowd shiver and glance at one another nervously. What power did she possess? Everyone leaned in, captivated by the intensity of the moment. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The tension snapped back with a force that made everyone's breath hitch. Amelia stood there, resolved, and revealed what she had hidden: a crumpled, yellowed letter in her pocket, tied with a string of faded blue. It was more than a piece of paper, it was a key to a world that bound her irrevocably to Marcus. The crowd gasped, eyes wide, as the atmosphere shifted from mockery to a storm of questions. What was in the letter? Why did she seem like she owned the very air that separated them? The stakes had just skyrocketed. And with that, Amelia took a deep breath, the shadows of the past looming large behind her. Did she have the courage to unveil a truth that could shake the foundations of everything? As she prepared to read, the room was still. Today, things would never be the same. The dim light flickered over Amelia's trembling hands as she gingerly unraveled the letter. Every breath around her felt suspended in time, those who once mocked now stared in sheer disbelief. The sound of Marcus's laughter faded into silence, a striking contrast to the biting tension that draped over the ballroom like a heavy curtain. What do you think you're doing? Marcus's voice finally pierced the stillness. It was no longer filled with confidence but tinged with an edge of anxiety. His gaze bounced from Amelia to the crowd, searching for someone to back him up, but everyone was riveted to her. Amelia's heart raced as she began to read aloud, letting the old, delicate words spill into the air. To my beloved, if you find this letter, it means I am finally gone, and all that I have must be given to you, my true heir. Each word wrapped around her like a warm blanket, but also felt like a noose tightening around her neck, threatening to choke out the possibility of hope. The snickers stopped, replaced by gasps of shock. She glanced up, her eyes locking with Marcus's. His expression twisted from anger to confusion, then to a palpable fear. No, it can't be. The crowd buzzed with whispers, electric with curiosity. An heir? To what? His money? What does this mean? The questions ricocheted around the room, mingling with the air of disbelief. Amelia could hear her heart thudding in her ears, drowning out the cacophony. Marcus stepped forward, indignation radiating off him like flames. You think that letter makes you special? That it gives you a right to anything? You're nobody. But as Amelia fought against the swell of chaos, the one thing that calmed her was the knowledge of the truth within that letter. It wasn't just about wealth or entitlement, it was something deeper, a connection that transcended all their differences. You're wrong, she said, her voice gaining strength. This isn't just about money. It's about legacy. The murmurs grew louder. What kind of legacy? Someone shouted from the back. Family, Amelia replied firmly. I am the rightful heir of his heart, and yes, maybe of his estate too. She took a step forward, and for a moment, the crowd recoiled, both intrigued and terrified. Marcus's composure fractured, and disgust twisted across his handsome features. You're lying. My father would never what? Love someone like me? Think again. The room gasped at her boldness. The weight of her claim wasn't just about inheritance, it was a challenge. A sudden hush descended as Marcus's hand shot up, a desperate attempt to silence Amelia. But she pressed on, the truth spilling from her like an overflowing dam. This letter proves I'm connected to your father in ways you can't even comprehend. You can laugh all you want, but this is real. The air thickened, the tension climbing higher and higher. Marcus stepped back, his bravado fading as the revelation sank in. Amelia saw the flicker of doubt in his eyes. The laughter had died, replaced by the chilling reality of who she truly was. But the stakes hadn't just risen, they had exploded. Just then, a voice crackled through the crowd, a wild laugh that sent shivers down everyone's spine. A letter? How quaint. But you think that's enough? You're in over your head, girl. All heads turned to see who had interrupted. Fear coursed through Amelia's veins as she recognized the figure stepping from the shadows, his presence washing over the room like a storm. It was someone she never expected to see, someone who had been lost to the past. Who are you? She whispered, panic and a dark premonition gnawing at her. In that moment, the night took a turn she couldn't foresee. Beneath all their glimmering facades, truths were unraveling, and the very foundations of their lives hung in the balance. What secrets would this unexpected guest bring to light? Would Amelia have the strength to face it all head-on? The laughter rang out again, echoing in the cavernous ballroom and sending a chill through Amelia. She squinted against the dim light, trying to make out the face of the figure stepping into view. The crowd parted like the Red Sea, curiosity etched on their faces. It was Victor, her estranged father's twin brother. Time had not been kind to him, his once vibrant hair had gone silver, and the shadows beneath his eyes hinted at a life filled with regret. He had been a ghost in her memories, a man whispered about but never spoken to. Now, he was like a damning prophecy visiting her in flesh and blood. Victor, Amelia breathed, the name barely escaping her lips. Oh, sweet Amelia. You've grown. His voice oozed sarcasm, wrapped in charm, polished like a knife waiting to plunge. Didn't he expect to see you flaunting a family heirloom right here at my mother's charity gala? Such a shame you had to drag everyone's attention away from the important things. Gasps bounced around the room, each one a dagger that landed in Amelia's chest. People murmured and pointed, their collective disbelief palpable, but Victor thrived off their shock. He seemed as invigorated as a man on stage. You don't belong here, Marcus spat, stepping protectively in front of his uncle. Whatever trick you think you're pulling, it's pathetic. Pathetic? Victor leaned back, feigning shock. You think I'm threatened by this little girl playing dress-up? You, who grew up in a gilded cage, can't even begin to grasp what my brother saw in her. The atmosphere crackled with palpable tension. Marcus's face reddened, indignation morphing into fury. Don't you dare speak about my father. Oh, I will. Victor smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Your father adored Amelia. He always said she was light in the darkest of places. Didn't you read the letter, Amelia? Did you see who really held the power? With each word, Amelia felt more hollow, as if Victor were a puppeteer, pulling strings that left her bones rattling. What are you saying? She asked, the tremor in her voice betraying her anger. Only that the world you think you belong to is crumbling, he laughed, a cruel sound that dampened any spark of hope. And I'm here to ensure the chaos is ripe for my harvest. That letter? He pointed accusatorily. It won't save you. You're just a pawn in this game of kings. Fear cascaded down her spine. Did he mean the family estate? Was he here to claim it for himself? With a voice steadier than she felt, Amelia replied, You can't control me. I know the truth. Do you? Victor stepped closer, his smile widening as he spoke softly, as if sharing a secret. You don't even know the half of it, dear niece. There's much at stake for you, much more than riches. The weight of his words threatened to drag her under. What was he hinting at? Questions swirled in her mind like leaves caught in a storm. She had stood amid questions about legacy, but now they multiplied into a torrent of uncertainty. Get out! Marcus shouted, but Victor laughed even harder. Let the girl decide, he said, nodding toward Amelia. This is her story now. Isn't it fascinating how the past can reach out and grip you so tightly? Sensing the crowd shifting, Amelia looked into their eyes. Fear, intrigue, shock. They were on the edge, just like her. The moment stretched, and she felt raw with the exposure, desperate for answers she didn't even understand yet, but the darkness was creeping in, and the laughter and whispers were a pulsing reminder that she was barely holding on to her reality. Just then, Victor leaned closer, his breath brushing against her cheek like a ghostly wind. Are you ready to face your father's true legacy? What could that possibly mean? And as he pulled away, a wicked grin on his face, Amelia felt trapped. The storm was only just beginning. Would she be able to unravel the tangled threads of this new revelation, or was she already trapped in Victor's web of secrets? The tension suffocated the air, sharp as a blade. Victor's gaze held Amelia captive, as if he could peer into the very core of her being and unravel her thoughts. The crowd still buzzed, a mix of shock and twisted excitement, but it all faded into a dull roar in Amelia's ears. She could hardly breathe, each heartbeat ringing in her head like a warning bell. What do you want from me? She finally managed through clenched teeth, her voice steady yet laced with defiance. Want? Victor chuckled, a sound devoid of real joy. I simply want to help you see the truth. His eyes glinted with a dark promise. Your father left you more than just that lovely necklace, Amelia. His legacy comes with a burden. One you will soon bear. The implications of his words hung in the air, heavy and dark. A burden? She felt the room close in around her. Panic tickled at the edges of her mind. What burden could he be referring to? Was it more than just family secrets? Marcus stepped forward again. You're a snake, Victor. Slithering into people's lives just to cause chaos. Get her out of here. His rage was palpable, but doubt flickered in Amelia's chest like a candle flickering in the wind. Victor waved him off as if he were a mere nuisance. Oh, Marcus, always the protector. But your precious Amelia may need to step out of your shadow. Her destiny is woven into this family tapestry, whether she likes it or not. The fancy ballroom, with its glimmering chandeliers and rich upholstery, felt like a stage for a tragic play. Amelia's heart raced as she caught sight of faces watching them. Curiosity swirled, many eager for a show, but a few wore looks of pity. A lump formed in her throat. How did things spiral so out of control? Victor leaned in closer, his voice a conspiratorial whisper that made her skin crawl. Your father loved you fiercely, but he was no saint. His dealings were dark, whispers of blood and betrayal haunt this legacy. Are you prepared to claim what is rightfully yours, or will you let it slip away? Amelia recoiled slightly, trying to embrace the truth behind his words. Her father. Blood? You're lying, she said, but the tremor in her voice contradicted her denial. The emotions surged: anger, fear, dread, an overwhelming wave crashing over her. He shrugged, a bemused smile stretching across his face as he surveyed the crowd. Lying? Am I lying, dearest niece? He gestured broadly, a conductor orchestrating a symphony of unease. Take a good look, Amelia. The truth is as much a part of you as that glittering diamond. Own it or be consumed by it. The murmurs grew louder, like the swell of a tide. Amelia felt a flicker of resolve surge within her, though uncertainty still clung to her skin like sweat. What happens if I refuse? She asked, her heart pounding, daring to challenge him. Victor's grin widened, but it was all sharp edges. Ah, but refuse and the game changes. You may yet find yourself trapped within that gilded cage you feel so comfortable in. He stepped back, allowing her a moment to breathe while the crowd buzzed in anticipation. Time seemed to stretch, her mind racing with implications. She was no longer just a girl in a lavish dress, she was staring into a shadowy abyss that threatened to swallow her whole. Suddenly, one of the guests cried out, "What is going on?" The tension snapped, eyes darting between Victor and Amelia like a pendulum. Just a gentle awakening, Victor replied sweetly, but the menace behind his words was unmistakable. He turned, leaving Amelia with one final warning. The truth awaits, dear niece. If you're truly brave, you'll discover what was never meant to be hidden from you. As he moved away, the crowd gasped, murmurs growing into a cacophony of confusion and excitement. Amelia's heart raced as she caught Marcus's worried gaze. Would she dare to follow this dark path? Or could she confront her father's shadows without losing herself? Are you all right? Marcus asked, his voice barely above a whisper. And just then, a figure brushed against her shoulder, a stranger in dark clothes, moving swiftly through the chaos. They left a card with a single word inscribed, midnight. An icy dread crept over Amelia. What awaited her at midnight? As the ballroom swirled with conflicting emotions, she knew one thing: for better or worse, the night was far from over. The time crept by, each second stretching into an eternity. Amelia stood frozen, her breath hitching as she turned the card over in her fingers, the word midnight burning into her mind. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to leave this glamorous prison of secrets behind. But the curiosity gnawed at her, a relentless whisper urging her to uncover the darkness Victor had hinted at. Amelia, we should go, Marcus insisted, his grip tightening around her arm, the warmth of his hand a welcome comfort against the chill of uncertainty that clung to her like fog. His face was a mask of concern, eyes darting to the crowd as if they were all waiting for a spark to ignite the brewing storm. Let him make all of his threats. We don't need to be a part of this anymore. But could she walk away? The looming question echoed in her mind. What truth was she denying? What shadows lingered in her father's past, hidden beneath the veneer of his wealth? Maybe I should stay, she said, her voice shaking but resolute. I have to know what he means. I can't just ignore it. Marcus frowned. You don't have to do this alone. We can face whatever it is together. Just say the word, and we'll leave right now. Amelia glanced around the ballroom, feeling the weight of the crowd's eyes on her. They were waiting, hungry for drama, craving the moment when she would shatter the illusion. But what if Victor was right? What if her father's legacy was a dark, twisted story waiting to be told? I need to confront him, she said finally, pulling her arm from Marcus's grip. If he is lying, I'll show him. Marcus held her gaze, a mixture of pride and fear swirling in his expression. Just be careful, he murmured, as if sensing that this path led to danger. With determination tightening the corners of her mouth, Amelia took a deep breath and made her way through the crowd, towards the door where Victor had disappeared. Each step felt heavier than the last, but she would not falter. Not now. As she stepped outside, the cool night air enveloped her, a stark contrast to the suffocating tension indoors. Amelia scanned the dimly lit expanse of the estate grounds, her heart thumping wildly. Then, from the shadows, she felt a presence. Victor emerged, his silhouette cutting sharply against the moonlight. "Ah, my brave niece," he said smoothly, his voice like silk over stone. "Are you ready to embrace your destiny? Or will you hide in ignorance? What do you want from me?" Amelia steadied herself, clenching her fists. "What is this burden you speak of?" Victor stepped closer, his eyes narrowing, and she felt his intensity, the magnetic pull of his confidence almost intoxicating. "A family secret, Amelia. One that could change everything you think you know. At midnight, the truth will have its say. You could deny it, run away, or you could face what lies within your own blood." Her stomach twisted. What kind of truth could it be? Blood ties could mean anything: wealth, power, or something more sinister lurking beneath the surface. Victor tilted his head, a smirk playing on his lips. "Tick-tock, dear niece. The hour grows near. Will you accept or reject your legacy? We've all been waiting for you to discover your part in this tale." With a surge of courage, Amelia squared her shoulders. "Then I guess I'll have to see what this tale truly is." In the distance, the clock began to chime, each toll echoing like thunder through her heart, counting down the seconds to an uncertain revelation, to the midnight hour where destiny awaited. As her mind raced, something shifted behind Victor, a lingering shadow, a flash of silver in the darkness that sent a jolt of fear racing through her. Who else lurked in the shadows? And what was she about to unearth? The night was thick with unspoken truths, and at that moment, she knew everything would change. The clock chimed, each resonant note mingling with the chill in the air. A foreboding unease settled over Amelia, and she glanced over her shoulder, searching the darkness for that fleeting shape. But it was gone, swallowed by the night. Victor's presence loomed larger, his smirk widening, feeding the tension crackling between them. "What do you think you'll find, Amelia?" he taunted, stepping closer. "The truth can be a cruel teacher. Are you ready to learn its lessons?" Amelia pressed her lips together, fighting back the shiver racing down her spine. "You act like I should be scared of whatever it is you're hiding. You think I'll back down? Isn't that what everyone does? Run from their fears?" He countered smoothly, his voice a seductive blend of menace and allure. "It's a natural instinct, especially when it comes to family secrets." The word family hit her hard, resonating deep within. What was the legacy she was being summoned to confront? Blood could bind, but it could also burn. Somewhere in the distance, Amelia heard the faint rustle of leaves. It was as if the world itself was holding its breath. "Where's the truth, Victor?" she demanded, struggling to keep her voice steady. "What have you done?" Before he could respond, a loud crash echoed from the house behind them. A glass shattered. Instinctively, Amelia twisted around, her heart racing, but Victor's hand shot out to grip her arm. "Stay," he hissed, his eyes flashing. What was happening inside? Anxiety coiled tighter in her chest, and she pulled away. "I need to know what is going on." But Victor's expression shifted, the mirth vanishing. "Not yet. We have more pressing matters to discuss." He turned, leading her away from the house, deeper into the shadows of the estate. The moonlight struggled to pierce through the thick canopy above, casting an eerie glow around them. "Trust me, Amelia. This will all make sense soon enough." "Trust you?" She laughed harshly, the sound ringing hollow in the stillness. "Why would I do that?" He paused, his eyes narrowing, and for a moment, she caught a glimpse of something fear. "Because ignorance is a luxury you cannot afford. Something wicked is coming for you, for all of us. The midnight hour brings more than just truth, it brings reckoning." "Reckoning?" She could barely whisper the word, dread clawing at her throat. She wanted to demand more, but the creeping shadow from earlier slipped back into her mind, a ghost that refused to be quieted. Victor stepped back, raising a finger as if redirecting her attention. "Look," he said, pointing towards the mansion. "This is only the beginning. You need to be ready, Amelia. Our family has lived in darkness for too long. Midnight will either liberate you or consume you." Amelia's heart raced as realization dawned on her, the weight of his words crashing down like waves. What did he know that she didn't? What had her father buried beneath his empire? Amelia, the voice was a murmur in the shadows, this time softer, almost pleading. It sent a sudden shock through her. Without thinking, she turned again, but she wasn't prepared for what she would see. Standing just beyond the tree line, eyes wide and brimming with fear, was a woman pale as moonlight, her face lined with anguish and recognition. It was someone from her past, a ghost she thought she had buried long ago. "Help me!" The one word sent a jolt through Amelia's core, a sinking realization that whatever lurked in her family history was not just a tale of wealth and privilege. The truth was craving a reckoning, and the clock ticked on. Who was this woman? What had she known? What secrets intertwined with Amelia's blood? As the last toll of midnight resonated, Amelia understood, the moment of reckoning had arrived. The shadows deepened, and so did her fear. What lay ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: everything she'd ever known was about to spin out of control, and she was standing at the edge of a precipice. Would she grasp the truth, or would it plunge her into the abyss? As the last echo of the chime faded, the world fell silent. The crisp air pressed in around Amelia, thickening with each passing second. She felt a whirlwind of emotions battling within her. Confusion. Fear. The desperate need to uncover the truth. Amelia, the mournful voice from the shadows, called her again. The woman stepped forward, trembling, her features becoming clearer under the feeble moonlight. She looked impossibly familiar. "You have to listen to me." Victor's grip on her arm tightened like a vice, pulling her back slightly. "Don't trust her. She doesn't know what she's talking about." Amelia's heart raced. "Let me go," she demanded, shaking off his hold. She took a tentative step toward the figure, who was now visibly shaking, eyes wide with pleading. "Please, you don't understand," the woman gasped, her voice breaking. "There's a darkness here that you can't escape. Your family has hidden it for generations." "Who are you?" Amelia breathed, staring into those haunted eyes. They were filled with a pain that mirrored her own most unspoken fears. "I'm your mother." The revelation cut through the night like glass. It was a word that detonated in her mind, shattering the facade of her carefully constructed life. Memories she suppressed as a child finally surged to the surface: the face behind the family photos, that longing she could never name. "No. That's impossible." Amelia backed away, every part of her resisting the truth. Victor was still, the amusement wiped clean from his face. "I was taken from you, but I was never gone. I've watched you've grown into someone strong. But it's happening again. The cycle is about to repeat. They'll come for you." "Who will come?" Amelia glanced back at Victor, who stood rigid, his expression a mixture of panic and anger. "Your father has enemies, Amelia," the woman pressed on, stepping closer. "They want to finish what was begun long ago. You're in danger. You need to find the files, his secrets buried in the West Wing. It's the key." Victor stepped forward, a knife edge of fury slicing through the air. "Stop it. You're poisoning her mind." Amelia felt the pull of knowledge like a siren's call. "What's in the files? What did my father do?" Her heart hammered in sync with the urgency in her voice, desperate for answers. Before the woman could answer, shadows surged from behind the trees, thick and alive. A shiver of dread washed over Amelia. Dark figures emerged, cloaked and silent, their faces hidden under hoods. "Run!" Victor shouted, and in that moment, the world collapsed into chaos. The pale woman's terrified eyes met Amelia's. "Find them before it's too late." She screamed as the figures closed in. Amelia turned, her instincts kicking in. She bolted deeper into the woods, the rough branches snapping against her skin. Panic set in, the sound of heavy footsteps thudding behind her. The air grew colder, the darkness pressing in, wrapping around her like a shroud, heart pounding. She ducked behind a massive oak, gasping for breath. The whispers of the shadows tickled her eardrums, but she focused on the words her mother spoke. Something was hidden in the house, the truth. The legacy, but the question raced through her mind. How could she escape the shadows looming behind her? As the figures converged nearby, Amelia's resolve hardened. She would find the truth. She would face the reckoning. But where was the west wing? The sound of rustling leaves grew louder. Shadows shifted. Something was coming for her. Just then, a glimmer caught her eye, peeking through the trees, a forgotten path leading back toward the mansion. The clock was ticking. Would she dare return to the heart of the monster? The path twisted ahead, a narrow descent that beckoned Amelia back toward the mansion. The moonlight flickered between the branches like a heartbeat, pulsing with danger and allure. She hesitated, her breath hitching with the weight of the decision. The shadows loomed behind her, cold and relentless, pushing her to act. Amelia sprinted forward, her senses sharpened by fear. The ground beneath her feet felt uneven, a mixture of roots and rocks that threatened to trip her with each step. All she could hear was the roaring in her ears and the rapid echo of her heart, a drumbeat urging her to move faster. As she reached the overgrown hedges at the mansion's edge, a familiar chill wrapped around her, pulling her into the memory of past secrets. The moon shone bright on the stone walls, and she pressed her hand against the cold, textured surface, a tremor shooting through her. Did she have the strength to uncover what lay within those walls? Just then, the sounds behind her amplified, a chorus of harsh whispers tangled in the branches. The figures were closer now, their footsteps heavy with purpose, echoing like thunder in her chest. Amelia took a deep breath and dashed for the door, pushing it open and plunging inside. The air within was stale, cluttered with dust motes dancing in the pale light. She glanced around, trying to remember the layout of the mansion her father had kept secret. The walls felt like they were closing in, shadows stretching and reaching out like fingers, threatening to grab her. "Focus, Amelia," she murmured to herself, heart racing. She remembered the grand staircase, the leaning portraits, family faces watching silently, hiding untold stories. But there was no time for sentiment. Her mother's words echoed in her mind. The files were in the west wing. She set off, her footsteps echoing through the hallways, the shadows flickering like ghosts. Every creak of the floorboard sent chills down her spine. Each door she passed was a potential treasure chest of secrets, but she pressed on, the thrill of discovery battling against her growing panic. At the end of the corridor, she spotted a door barely visible behind a curtain of ivy. Her pulse quickened. This must be it. She rushed forward and flung the door open, revealing a dust-choked room filled with old furniture draped in white sheets. "Where are you?" she whispered, her voice lost in the stillness. She stepped into the room, her fingers itching to pull back the coverings and reveal the truth hidden beneath, but then she froze. A faint noise drifted through the air, a deep, guttural breathing. It was there, lurking in the corners, unseen and yet palpable. Her mind raced back to the figures chasing her through the woods, their presence ever looming. Were they following her now? Were they inside the very walls that contained her family's secrets? Sensing movement, her heart dropped. She wasn't alone. What horror waited in the dim corners? Amelia's hands trembled as she edged closer to a pile of dust-covered boxes, her mind racing through a whirlwind of possibilities. Was this the moment she would uncover everything, or was it the moment her family's darkest fear would become her own? As she reached for the top box, the door suddenly slammed shut behind her with a deafening bang. Amelia spun around just in time to see shadows encroaching, creeping toward her like a rising tide. "Get out!" she screamed, her voice breaking, but the shadows were already there, closing in, hungry for the secrets buried deep within the mansion and within her own bloodline. With no way to escape, Amelia's heart thundered in her ears. Would she face the darkness, or would it consume her first? A guttural growl resonated from the shadows, and suddenly, she realized what was at stake. Could she confront the monster behind her father's legacy before it swallowed her whole? Time was running out. Amelia's heart raced as the shadows thickened around her, a living entity swirling and shifting. She could feel the fear tangling in her throat like a chokehold, but she forced herself to breathe. The guttural growl resonated again, louder this time, vibrating through the very walls of the mansion. This was no mere echo of her imagination. "Show yourself!" she shouted, her voice a faint tremor against the oppressive darkness. A whisper of laughter floated through the air, smooth and sinister, echoing off the dust-laden furniture. It reverberated around her like a snake slithering through the room, eerie and mocking. Every instinct screamed for her to flee, yet her feet felt rooted in place, bolted by a mix of dread and curiosity. Movement flickered in the corner of her eye. Swallowing hard, she turned slowly, the hairs on her arms standing on end. Something shifted in the darkness, an outline that appeared both solid and liquid, shifting like smoke. The breath quickened in her lungs as she took a hesitant step back, her hands instinctively balling into fists. "Amelia," a voice hissed, slithering through the shadows. "Did you come to find the truth, or are you simply a curious little mouse caught in the trap?" The word sent chills cascading down her spine. Recognition shot through her like ice water. It was the voice of someone she thought she would never hear again. "Father?" she croaked, disbelief in her tone. "But how? Did you really think you could erase me so easily?" The shadows coiled tighter, revealing fleeting glimpses of a familiar figure, tainted by darkness. Time warped around her. The memories of her father's voice, his laughter, and the lessons he'd imparted when she was a child clashed violently with the figures twisting at the edges of her mind. "What have you done?" she whispered, the plea sounding weak against the looming presence. "Everything, my dear." His tone held a sing-song quality, as if he relished the chaos. "Long ago, I buried family secrets deep in this mansion. Now, they've risen, just like me. You must know, they desire freedom, and yet they are tethered, until you unlock the truth." Confusion mingled with fear, swirling in her gut. The shadows flickered, angry and restless, still crawling closer, their intentions now more tangible. "You're not supposed to be here," she shouted back, desperation coloring her voice. "Let me go." "Ah, sweet Amelia, there's no escape from truth." His laughter filled the air, rich and mocking, taunting her. "But don't you want to understand the darkness within your own blood? I promise, once you do, the shadows will be grateful." Light sparked in her mind, and a glimmer of defiance ignited her nerves. "I refuse to be a pawn in your game. If these secrets have bound you, then I will unearth them and break this curse." She took a deep breath, standing taller against the swirls of darkness. The shadows paused, their movement stilled as if considering her words. "Are you prepared to face what you will find? This mansion stands as a prison of our past, but it can also be your freedom, or your doom." Before she could respond, an icy draft swept through the room. The dust-covered furniture stirred as if the house itself was responding to the confrontation. With fierce determination, she hashed a plan in her mind while gripping the edge of a nearby box, ready to unleash the secrets that rumbled within her family's history. "What lies in this box?" Amelia whispered to herself, her resolve hardening. It was time to reclaim her narrative, to confront whatever awaited her inside, yet just as she prepared to turn, the shadows surged forward, enveloping her in icy darkness. The pressure became overwhelming, squeezing her chest as her vision blurred under their weight. "Let go," she gasped, fighting against the impending void. But then she heard a soft rustle amidst the chaos. There was something beneath the dust, a glint of silver. In that moment, Amelia realized her life hinged on the hidden truth buried within the walls. If she could seize it, if she could unveil the secrets tying her family to the darkness, could she win against the very legacy that sought to trap her. But what other horrors awaited her pull at the fabric of that family secret? As the shadows closed in, tightening their grip, one thought remained: Could she survive long enough to bring the truth into the light, or would she be consumed by the very darkness she sought to expose? The shadows clung to Amelia like a damp fog, suffocating her as she fought back the impending darkness. She stood her ground, heart pounding, every breath like a battle cry against the grip of fear. She was more than just the janitor's daughter now, she was a force of nature fueled by truth. She could feel the weight of her father's voice tangling with her heartbeat, urging her forward. Her fingers brushed the edge of the box again, its rough texture grounding her amidst the chaos. "I will uncover whatever lies here," she whispered fiercely, throwing back her shoulders. Her blood surged with a mixture of fear and determination, a fire ignited deep within her. "Why cling to the past, Amelia?" The familiar voice of her father crooned from the depths of the shadows. "What's buried is best left untouched. Can't you see this only leads to pain?" "No!" Amelia shouted defiantly, her voice rising high. "It leads to liberation." She knew she was running out of time. The darkness stirred, restless and impatient, shadows weaving around her feet like tendrils seeking a way to ensnare her. She reached for the box once more, ripping away the dusty cover, exposing the first of many secrets hidden there. Inside lay a collection of documents, yellowed with age, sealed with a simple yet elegant ribbon. Amelia's heart raced as she grasped the truth, knowing it held more than just words, it held her destiny. The moment the shadows caught a whiff of her newfound determination, they hesitated. They didn't like it. They didn't know how to handle her rising power. "What is it you think you'll find?" Her father's voice rang out, less certain now, like a man standing on unsteady ground. "You wouldn't want the world to think ill of your family, would you?" Amelia glanced down at the documents, flipping through pages filled with both remorse and revelation. Her heart began to slow as clarity washed over her. "You were hiding something worse," she said quietly, the piercing truth taking shape. "But it's time for the truth to breathe. This isn't just about you anymore, it's about me." There was a flicker in the shadows, a moment of disarray. They seemed to recoil, giving her space, and in that instant, she felt the tight coil of fear unravel. Inspired, Amelia began to read aloud the passages that echoed through her heart like a symphony of hope. The legacy her father kept buried was one of love stifled by shame, results of choices made long ago not just by him, but by generations lost. Suddenly, the room burst alive with energy, the shadows swirling furiously, but she pressed on. "You thought I couldn't break free, but here I am. This isn't just a curse, this is my inheritance, my strength." Her voice rang with raw power, and she could feel the shadows shrink back, and then, as she finished reading, the room lit up momentarily, exposing her father half-formed in the shadows, eyes wide with a mix of horror and wonder. "Amelia, no!" he roared, but it was too late. The truth had taken root in her soul. In that magnetic moment, everything shifted. The shadows pulled back, losing their foothold, as if the unveiling of the truth had dimmed their power. The heavy weight of generations suddenly lifted, tears prickling Amelia's eyes. The burden of lies she never wanted to shoulder crumbled away, and for the first time, the air felt lighter. "Thank you for showing me the light," she breathed, confidence surging as she turned toward the doorway. "I will reclaim what's rightfully mine and shatter the chains of our past." The door creaked open, revealing the moonlit corridor beyond. Amelia stepped forward with purpose, ready to face the world outside where the past no longer defined her. Victor appeared behind her, frustration spelling out on his face. The shadows had not only released her but weakened him in turn. "You might have beaten the darkness tonight," he snarled, "but you really think you can simply walk away? This isn't over." "Maybe not for you," she shot back, casting him a defiant glance. "But for me, it's just the beginning." With that, she marched straight into the moonlight, leaving behind the weight of generations lost and stepping into a future forged from truth. Outside the mansion, Amelia felt the cool night air fill her lungs, a refreshing embrace. She stood tall, the stars twinkling down as if celebrating her victory. With every step forward, she felt lighter, freer, ready to embrace her own legacy on her own terms, and as she walked away from the chaos of the past, there was a new path awaiting her. The world stretched open in front of her, bright with possibility. The mansion shrank behind her, and the shadows dimmed, ceding ground to the dawning light of a new day. Soon, she would share her journey, inspire others, and know that the power of truth of facing one's own darkness was more potent than the shadows that once sought to consume her. Amelia Baker was no longer the janitor's daughter, she was the architect of her own fate, and as the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, she felt hope pulse through her veins. Now, dear friends, it's time for you to join me. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss any of the exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now to help feed the algorithm and show your support for our journey together. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and reactions. What did you think of this wild conclusion? Finally, don't wait even 1 second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending. It's the moment to stand united as true fans. Let us spread the word.